professional speaker and international best-selling author. It's not a bad list. It's not a bad list, Jenni.
I've worked hard for that.
Jenni trains riders of all levels of equestrian sports to develop their mental strength and create real and lasting impact on their enjoyment and results. Through her company, Flying Changes Mindset, Jenni also coaches and supports instructors and trainers to continue delivering her methods after she's left. Her book, Dream It, Do It, Love It, is out now. I'm sure I've seen people with that on their chests as well.
Oh yeah, we used to have a clothing range with it on.
I've seen some of that today.
Yep.
Nurturing individuals and their talent have always been at the heart of Jenni's professional life. After enjoying a successful corporate career as a global consultant in talent management, Jenni felt the need to combine her love for equestrianism and her ability as a professional coach. This led her to develop Flying Changes Mindset, a market-leading business in the equestrian sphere and one of the UK's largest equestrian mindset training and coaching companies. Over the years, she's helped thousands of riders overcome their fear, performance anxiety, and overwhelm, and fall back in love with riding and getting results. That is an intro. I had to read that. Right, let's give Jenni a huge round of applause, and I will leave you to it.
Thank you very much. Oh, it always feels a bit weird following my own intro. Right, I don't want to stand in the way of the screen, so hopefully everyone can see it there. So I don't need to introduce myself particularly, so I'm going to hop straight into the topic because I really don't have very long, and what I don't want to do is just spend the whole time talking really fast to get it all in, and everyone's sitting there doing this, because I've had that sometimes. So I'm going to kind of, keep the pace for you, but we're going to be looking at the theory and some information that might help you understand more about something that affects every rider at every level at some point in time, potentially. I mean, it doesn't actually affect everyone. Sometimes there are people that manage to get through their riding journey without it affecting them. They are the lucky few, maybe the 1%, okay? So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit, and it's great to have followed the Beta ladies because they talked about head trauma and trauma like that. Well, we're going to be talking about trauma, but from how does trauma affect your internal workings of your brain perspective as well. So I'm going to give you some information on that today. So let's just jump straight in, hey? So when we talk about this thing called fear, which we talk about a lot, the flip side of fear being confidence, there is actually a spectrum to fear. It's not just one thing. And there is a spectrum because we can start at one end and we can work our way up to the other. And I want everyone to understand why there's a spectrum, because sometimes we'll call everything the same thing and it's not. But understanding that there's different levels to it can sometimes help us work out whether we're just being a bit cautious, which is fine, or whether we're in full-blown fear, which is something we need to do about. So the first one is caution. Caution is good. Caution's really good in horse riding. I'm sure if you ask the Beta people, is caution good in horse riding? They'll go, yeah. Like, we don't want to throw caution to the wind and jump on the new stallion bareback without a helmet on and gallop through the forest. Like, some people would love to do that, fair enough, but that's not probably a good idea, right? So caution is a good thing. Caution helps us risk assess. Caution helps us be sensible or check on things. Caution helps us check that what we want to do fits with our skill set. So caution's a good thing. We all want that. That's a good thing. The next level is nerves or apprehension. And again, this is where nerves and fear often get intertwined when they're not the same thing. Nerves and apprehension, again, normal, by the way. Okay, good thing, by the way. I have riders that ride around badminton at the 5-star level. If they are not slightly nervous before they go to do that cross-country course, I would genuinely not want them to go around it. Why? Because nerves and apprehension do something to us, which I'll talk about more in a minute, that help us to focus, that help us to get in the mind zone that we need to be able to make quick decisions, to be able to do small, tiny things and adjust stuff and be very, very aware. So they're a good thing. But when they start to become a problem is when they go much more into anxiety. And anxiety is something that's talked about in many ways and often in ways that aren't quite right. And people talk about anxiety a lot. And the thing with anxiety is what that is a impending feeling of doom. That's what anxiety is. Like, your brain has predicted the future and gone, this is not going to be good. I don't like it, even though it's not happening. That's what anxiety is, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment, of what exactly it is the brain's doing. Anxiety is where it starts to become a problem. Okay, now, the thing is, it's noticing where am I in this right now that would start to help you to understand what you need to be doing at what point. So caution, great, normal. Nerves, apprehension, okay, they're fine, manageable, that's all right. Anxiety, we're starting to tip into, I might need some help with this, I might need some support, I might need to look into this a little bit. Then we go into fear. Again, all of this is normal, this is all good stuff in our brain because all it's doing is keeping us alive, and it's done it. To this day, here you are, right now, your brain wakes up and goes, great, I'm alive again. What did I do yesterday? Oh, I'll do that, it worked. And that's literally what it does. So it's kept you alive to today, which is great, it's fantastic. But fear is what happens to us in the moment when there is an issue. Okay, so we are fearful when something is happening to us. And you're sat there going, no, I'm not. I can definitely be fearful when there is nothing going on. Okay? The difference is, I'm talking about what it is in its purest form here. Fear has these little tricks that I'll tell you more about today, where it tricks you into going, there's an issue when there's not. Okay? So fear in its purest form, fear in the form of what our brain needs to be doing for us, is designed to get us away from danger. Okay? So in that respect, it's a great thing to have. It's not a great thing to have when it's trying to get us away from danger when there isn't any. And that is where we come in, and that is where we then work with people, because we work with anxiety, we work with fear. And then the final piece is phobia. Phobia is a completely irrational fear. So a phobia would be a phobia of horses. Well, if you've got a phobia of horses, you won't be sat here today. So it's not really relevant. Like, a phobia is an irrational fear. So like a phobia of spiders, unless you're looking at a killer spider that is coming at you with its fangs and going to kill you, it's not rational to be scared of a spider, okay? So that's the real end of it. I don't tend to work with phobia particularly because we tend to be working more in the fear and anxiety realm. Phobia generally just stops you from doing something that actually you don't want to do anyway generally, so it's not really a problem. So we don't tend to work on that. So just a little bit about me. You've heard my introduction, so I'm not going to give you too much information. But one thing I did want to say, we're 10 years old this year, Flying Changes. So I've been around a long time, well, relatively speaking. And when I started doing this work, confidence was one of those things people started to talk about where there was a bit of a taboo. And I feel like now we're all a lot happier talking about confidence, talking about nerves, talking about fear, talking about mindset, talking about mental health. We're all a lot happier to do that now. And I think that's really important that we do. But I just want to put a caveat in, and that is, if you go and get help, please make sure it's from someone who is qualified and capable of doing what they do. Because the problem with the brain is it takes things in really quite easily. And actually what can happen is if you're working with someone who isn't qualified, accredited, knows what they're doing, trained correctly, they can do more harm than good. So just be really careful when we're now looking at the fact that everyone seems to be calling themselves a performance coach, a mindset coach, a this coach, a that coach, a confidence coach, a this, and actually they don't have the right background and qualification. Because when we get onto the stuff in a minute, you'll see why the brain wires itself very quickly and easily, and if you're not careful and you're not working with the right people, it wire itself out. So I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to raise the standard of mindset coaching in our industry. I'm also on a mission to make this industry trauma-informed, talk about more on that in a minute, and to make sure that everyone understands why, not just mindset's important, we know that, everyone bleats on about it, but why we need to understand this stuff to help inform the industry, to make sure we don't have suicide rates that we do have, to make sure we have workplaces that are amazing places to work with horses, to make sure we have yards where they're supportive and we can genuinely look after each other, to make sure we can have the discussions that we want to have around why things are important in our equine world, to make sure our sport is able to continue into the future. So that's my little soapbox. I've been on it, I've done it, and I'm getting back off again. So one of the things that we're doing is all of our coaching courses to become a mindset coach are fully accredited, externally accredited, and qualifications in themselves, in their own right. That means someone else looks at our stuff who is external, and they're not equestrian in that respect either. They're CPD, ICF, CMI, if you know what those are. They're the industry standard. But we're also getting approval from the governing bodies as well. We're just going through that process right now. So that's my little soapbox. I want to be able to do that, and I really want everyone to come together to make this absolutely what needs to happen in our industry, but from a safe perspective. Anyway, so signs of anxiety and fear. I'm just going to rattle through these really quickly. Obvious signs, you could probably tell me these. Heart rate goes up, breathing gets faster, tension in your body. Mind goes racing, focused on the outcome, like what's going to happen rather than what's happening right now. controlling the things around you, like take that umbrella down, stop moving that horse, make sure that thing's not there. We've all seen that. Those people in the warm-up, get away from me. Well, no, I'm just riding my horse, you know. The angry people, they're perfectly normal. They get in a warm-up, they become the angry people. Oh, you need to sort that out. You need to do it. And you're thinking, all right, love, who's that sane person that I saw a minute ago who's just disappeared? They're fearful, they're nervous, they're anxious. Angry or short fuse. Avoidance. So, it's slightly less than 10 degrees today, so I'm not going to ride. Actually, it's all right. My horse just looked at me sideways. Oh, no, he's not up for it today. I'm not going to ride. That's okay. I'm not going to go to that venue because the blade of grass next to the arena is too long, and I can't possibly do it, right? I mean, I'm making light of this, but this is what starts to happen. What we start to do when we're in fear, we start to avoid. Because if we think about our brain, what does our brain do? It goes, I don't really want to do that, thanks. I'll come up with really good reasons why not. And we call them the perfect excuses. So we start doing that. And then we feel nervous, anxious, stressed, upset about it. And then we can also be feeling sick and nauseous. It has an effect in our body. The brain-body link is huge. It really does. But there are more subtle signs, like body freeze. So for instance, coming up to a jump, maybe, and suddenly you go, my legs don't work. Or I've gone like this. And it may be really subtle, right? It could just be my hand's just done that. Really subtle. And the higher up the level you are, the more subtle these things are going to be as well. So it could be really subtle signs like body freeze. You can't process information. Who here's forgotten a test or a course? Yeah, when you're in fear, you can't process information. There's a reason for that. You can't remember tests and courses. You're demotivated. This is an interesting one. Loads of people do not realise that demotivation is one of the very last things that happens when we're in fear too often. Our brain goes, I don't like it, I don't like it. You keep pushing me on, I don't like it, and I don't like it, so I'm just going to get to the point where I go, you don't really want to do that, do you? And you think, oh, I really do want to ride, but I don't. Actually, I'm getting to the point where I just don't want to do this anymore, or today, or this week, or you find other things you want to do, and then you think, just gone a week without riding my horse. I found all these other things to do instead, because it's to do with your motivation. So that can come as well. Depression actually can eventually come as a result of fear, but people don't think of it that way. And then feelings of shame, unworthiness, not being good enough. Actually, that results from fear. But the fear isn't physical. The fear, and this is what we normally deal with performance anxiety, the fear is of being judged, or of not looking good enough, or of letting people down, or of being seen on social media and things like that. So actually that stuff can all be bigger symptoms of ongoing anxiety, ongoing fear, ongoing trauma that we haven't dealt with. How many do you notice and when? Now, I'm not going to ask you to tell me that, but I just want you to think about it right now. How many do you notice and when? How many could you tick off that list? And when do you notice them? That's the most important thing. So, clicker's not working. Clicker's not working. Oh, no, there we are. It's caught up. It just wanted to give you a chance to take a photo of that, I think. It said, no, I can see them taking photos. So the long-term effects, what actually happens if we're in this stuff too much and for too long? You push yourself, but actually find it's getting worse. So how many people have pushed themselves in a lesson or something, and they've finished the lesson and gone, oh, great, I did more than I thought I would, brilliant. And then they go back and they're like, hang on a minute, I'm not just back at square one. I'm 3 steps back from that again. What's going on? Well, this is because you're pushing yourself. You're not doing it the way that the brain needs. You're going too far, too soon, too quick, and it retreats. Your comfort zone shrinks. I can't explain the comfort zone today. We've actually got some talks on it in the zone, mindset zone. You're less willing to try things. Your brain's going, no, it's too fearful, it's too dangerous, you can't do that, don't give it a go, you'll die, you'll hurt yourself, something will be an issue, so it stops. You're less trusting of your horse. I don't know how many times I hear this, but people go, this horse has done nothing wrong. But because of my previous one, or another one, or something else that went on, or something I've seen or heard, I think it might do, so I get scared on it, even though it's done nothing. You avoid things, situations, people, environments. You don't have your motivation. You become over-reliant on your kit, your lucky pants, your rescue remedy or alcohol or whatever it is that you use to help you try and get through this. That is symptomatic. It is not dealing with the root, okay? Need to control situations, people, environments. We talked about that one. Not doing what you love anymore. Unable to ride without an instructor present. How many people go, oh, I'm fine when my instructor's there, it's right. Well, of course you are. Because they're telling you what to do, they're supporting you, they're by your side, and then when your instructor goes, it's like, oh no, I can't possibly do that thing I did with them. Why? Nothing's actually changed. You just don't have them saying, you'll be fine, you're all right, here you go, do this, do that. Do you trust yourself? And then wasted money on entries, cancellations, unused bits of kit, training, memberships. So then the effects of the body and mind, depression and anxiety, dissociation and numbness, that could be physical and emotional, you just disconnect from things. Memory problems, impaired judgment, immunity issues can actually start to come into this stuff. Chronic illness, chronic fatigue, I had it. I've recovered from ME. People are like, oh, no one recovers from ME. Yes, you can, but you've got to get to the root cause of it. And I absolutely was diagnosed, didn't make it up. And 10 years down the line, because I had burnout in my corporate job, had ME, chronic fatigue, all of that jazz, and I went, something's not right here. And I did a lot of research and I worked it out and I realized how much of it was from past stuff I hadn't resolved. Here I am now, 10 years later, fine. And adrenal fatigue is something we get. This is when your adrenaline is just on go all the time, and it shouldn't be. Our bodies are not designed for adrenal fatigue. So how many of those can you tick off? And then just quickly, I want to show you this one before I get into the real science behind this all, okay? So I want to get you thinking and going, okay, yeah, okay, that might be me. Okay, I can see why she's saying this now. All right, yeah, there's some stuff there I didn't realise. The cost. Right, husbands, close your eyes. This isn't the cost of horse riding. This is the cost of having fear and anxiety in horse riding. Ta-da! Wasted money on livery, hay feed, bedding, and not getting enjoyment anymore. Somewhere between £1,500 to £500 a month. Cost of wasted training, clinics, cancelled rides, events, things we haven't gone to. Sometimes somewhere between £50 to £100 a month, £300 a month if you're doing it at a decent level. Cost of withdrawals, competitions due to nerves, excuses, environmental stuff. 50 to 200 maybe. I've worked this out from people, I haven't to the air. And the unused memberships, 30 to 150 maybe a year. Add that up. Don't add that up. Bad idea. Less obvious costs. Body work for your horse because you're always tense. Probably hadn't thought of that one. If you're riding around with tension, your horse is going to have tension. It could be very subtle, but you're going to notice it. How many times do you get the physio or something out for them and try and fix them? And it's like, no, love. And you go, no, I know I need to sort that, but, you know, Pickles needs it more. Supplements, calmers, and special feeds to help your horse with their anxiety that you're probably causing. We do it. I love supplement companies, they're really important. Mine has a supplement, he does use a calmer when he needs to, but not because I'm getting on going, because he goes, and I go, look mate, you're all right. And he goes, oh, I'm really not. And I go, no, you are. Okay, do you know, I'll help you. There's a big difference between me getting on and going, I don't think we're okay, do we? And my horse going, no, I really don't think we are. I'll give you a calmer then, horse, that'll be fine, but I won't work it out for myself. Bodywork remedies and supplements for you, if you have them. And then finally, clothes and matchy kit, from trying to look the part. And look, I love a bit matchy. It's fine. You know, I went through the whole matchy thing. I'm kind of out the other side of it now. I'm like matchy recoverers, here I am. But why are you doing it? That's what I want you to think. I love my horse to look nice. It's fine. I love that. I think it's really nice and it's perfectly okay. I like to look nice. That's also fine. I try my best. But actually, if you're doing it, and I have had clients come to me with this, because they don't feel good enough and they need to feel like they look the part, therefore they have to be in the newest colour or the latest thing. That's a very different thing. And that can get very expensive. So yeah, the cost of making it up to your family. I can't even put a price on that one, because you're spending your time, your energy and your money and you don't feel you're getting results, and you're coming home and your poor husband's going, why don't you just give up? Sorry, so you just chop a leg off. That doesn't compute. And they're going, but you don't like it. You're not enjoying it. You're not having fun. You come home and you're horrible. I don't even want to ask you how you got on today. I look at your face and think, oh God, what's for tea, darling? You know, like, we can't even put a price on that stuff. But this is the effect that it has on us. So why and how is it having this effect? Because of this, fear. Okay? Now, fear doesn't have to just be because you're in a scary environment. It's perfectly okay to fear going up to do something that you're new to, you haven't done before, you've had a past experience with or something. That's understandable fear, but the difference that I'm talking about here is the kind of fear that affects us when you are not in a dangerous situation. You know, so please don't put yourself in a dangerous situation, and that will help as well. Check that your skills match what you're trying to do, and if they don't quite, that's okay. You might want to increase your skills. That's all right, that needs to happen. We all want to improve. We do have to push ourselves, just not too much. So what is fear? Well, we're in the present right now. Here we are, we're in the present, feeling ourselves physically in our body right now, okay? And our brain can only be in one place at a time, but it feels like it can be in more. It really does, because it can quickly go from one to the other, milliseconds, nanoseconds. But when you're in a moment and a trigger, and that is the right word, it does get used in the wrong way everywhere at the moment, but a trigger comes in, that's something in our senses, one of our 5 senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. In horse riding it tends to be sound, sight, touch. It's very much a feeling thing that we do, yeah? Not so much taste, sometimes smell. But when we're riding, so this stuff's coming in all the time and our brain's processing this stuff. And it goes, oh, there's a whole load of information that's just come in. Oh, actually, that combination of information there is very similar to something that happened in the past that I didn't like and I want to avoid and I don't want it to happen again. Or that happened to someone else and I saw it, or that I've heard of might happen, or that I'm worried will and I've just made the scenario up entirely in my head, or any of that stuff, okay? But it'll all come. It doesn't even have to have happened to you directly. So your brain goes back to the past and it goes, I'm just going to go and retrieve that thing that happened. We call them adverse past experiences, okay? Because the good ones don't matter, that's great. And it goes back to the past and it goes, right, that thing was similar. So what I'm going to do now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you that's going to happen again. Because that information was similar enough, I think it's going to happen again, so I'm going to tell you that's your future. And your brain goes, I have predicted the future. If anyone can you let me know how, please? Right? I predicted the future. I know what's going to happen, says your brain. This terrible thing's going to happen to you right now. And you're going, well, I don't know how, because it's, I haven't even got on yet. How are you telling me that's going to happen? It's going, because it's happened before. So I have to keep you safe. Okay? So that's what it does. And it projects it into the future and it puts it in your front of your mind and goes, look, it's happening, even if it's not. Okay? And that is what fear is. So fear, put very simply, is your brain's prediction of an undesirable future. That's what fear is. You feel it in the now, but it's not actually happening to you. You feel like it is because you get all those symptoms, but it's not actually happening to you. That's what fear is. But the brain creates coping mechanisms to avoid the future, and then those become our habits and they get wired in. And then we keep doing those and it keeps predicting the future, and then we keep doing the what ifs and it keeps predicting the future. And even though nothing happens to us, our brain goes, doesn't matter, I did that yesterday, I'm going to do it again. So that's how it works. What is trauma? So I just want to tell you quickly, because everything I do now is trauma informed, and I think this is really important because this is the root cause stuff. Fear is a symptom. This is the root cause, and it happens everywhere in equestrians. So there have to be 3 elements to make something traumatic. 1, you can't control the situation. So you think about most adverse experiences that have happened to us, there has been something which means we can't stop it happening, because if we could, we would. We don't have, or for some reason we can't access the skills to do something about it. So there's some reason why we can't. Either we've got pushed out of our skill level, or we don't know how to deal with it, or something's different, or we're in a different situation, so we can't do anything about it. And then this is the important part, there is perceived, this is the most important word you can ever use, perceived risk of danger to life or limb or emotion from your brain. That's the most important part, not someone else's. 2 people can have the same experience, one found it traumatic and the other not. And that because it's just purely the perception that the brain has, okay? So this is why some people can just fall off and not care, and someone else can almost fall off and it's the worst thing in the world, okay? It's all about adverse past experience and what your brain does. So that's trauma. And when we think about most things that happen in riding, that's those elements, isn't it? Bucks, broncs, spins, spears, whatever they are, rears, bucks. If someone will ride those kind of horses and not care about it, if one of those isn't there, like they've got the skills, or they feel in control, or they don't perceive any risk, not a problem. So it's not the thing that's happening to us that creates the fear, it's our brain's perception of it. Making sense? Give me a nod. Are you still with me? Am I talking too fast? Now you can stop nodding. Okay. So trauma has to be all three together. I do love a Freudian slip. Okay, here's a quick 101 on our nervous system. Here we are. We've all got a nervous system, believe it or not. Our nervous system is the thing that works automatically for us. We have no control over it, and it decides what we're going to feel in that moment. So most of the time, don't worry about the technical terms. We're in calm, connected, and present. We're okay, we're perfectly all right. We're in what we call rest and digest, good place to be. Then, that's that one. Then fear comes along, tiger. So this, by the way, is from when we were cave people. This is when this was developed, 500 million years ago, okay? So if you think about our modern society in the last couple of hundred years, where we started riding horses as leisure, this is still very much guiding it all, okay? And what happens is our brain has to make a very quick decision. Do I run? Do I fight? Which do I need to do? So it starts all that stuff up. If we can't fight or flight, then we do something called freeze instead, okay? Freeze is always associated with trauma, by the way, because that means I'm stuck, I'm going to freeze. And this is what normally happens in horse riding. You're on the horse, you go up into fight or flight, and your brain goes, I can't get out of this. What do I do? And that's when you get the freeze response. And that can be as simple as you clamp up or your legs go to jelly or any of that stuff I talked about earlier. That's the freeze response. That means we know it's related to past trauma, past experience, okay? But what happens, unfortunately, is the brain wires itself quite quickly to go straight into the freeze response if it needs to. Hence why you'd be riding along and go, I'm stuck. And it doesn't have to be physical, it can be in our brain. That's why we forget things. That's why we feel stressed. We do a lot of stuff. Okay, quick picture of the brain to explain this for you. You cannot use logic to get out of fear. I don't know how many times I say this. I'm going to have it on a t-shirt, okay? You cannot use logic to get out of fear. Most of you have probably tried using logic to get out of fear. I'll keep having lessons. I'll keep going to do new things. I'll keep just doing it and it'll get better. I'll have the new piece of kit. I will take the rescue remedy. Rescue remedy is very good in the right situation. Other rescue remedies are available other than that one. You know, all of this stuff, okay? But here's the reason why you can't. It's really obvious, isn't it? If you look at that now, I don't even need to explain this slide. I don't think it's really obvious. This is your brain. The right-hand side here is a picture of your brain when you're probably sat like this right now, processing, listening to information, feeling all right, perfectly okay. This part is the front bit where the two arrows are here. It's what we call our prefrontal cortex. It's the bit as humans we really like to use. It's the logical processing part of our brain. Systems, process, logic, we like it, okay? This picture, it's red, means it's got blood flow. So you can process, you can be logical. This, by the way, is a brain in an MRI scanner. I probably should have told you that bit. It's not really what a brain looks like, okay? The red bit means there's blood flow. Then this person, bless them, gave their permission in this scanner to be put into a stressful situation. I don't know what they did. Some people just go in and the scanner would be enough, but it clearly wasn't for them because they got that one. And then what happens? Do you see there's no red at the front of that brain? There's no blood flow to your prefrontal cortex. So you can't use logic because it's not there. So please stop. It goes to the part of our brain in the middle, which is to do with our motor functions, which is to do with running, fighting, getting our way out of danger. It also goes to the central part here, which you can see the big red bit, that's our spinal cord. That's always got blood flow. It's really important that always has blood flow, okay? But that's also where the part of our brain that affects our flight or fight and our freeze and our autonomic nervous system. It's called our vagus nerve. And I've just started producing courses on how we can tone our vagus nerve, ladies and gentlemen. Because being able to do that helps it determine whether it goes all the way to accelerator, fight or flight, or whether it can put the brake on and come down into calm. And we need to learn how to do this, but we need to understand it as well. Making sense? All good? Still with me? Oh, okay, so what can be done? Well, it's quite simple, really. Number one, identify what triggers your responses. So now you know your responses, now you know a bit about why they happen. Start identifying. At what point do I go from okay to not okay? At what point does something change? So it's really important that you start to notice that, okay? Then we have to rewire the trigger and the association that it's made, okay? Now that bit you can't do on your own. I'll tell you why. Because you'll try and do it with this part of your brain, which is our conscious brain, our logical brain, and it's not there. It's in the unconscious part. That's where trauma, that's where fear, that's where all that stuff actually lives. In the part that is automatically controlled by our nervous system, okay? So that's where we come in. We do this stuff for you. That is exactly what we do. So we have to do that. This is root cause, not symptom. If you just try and work with the symptom, you're always going to be trying, failing, trying, failing. You might get somewhere. Some of the stuff does work. Okay, that's why people use it, because it does work. But ultimately, you want lasting change, then this is what you need to be able to do. And you do need an expert to do this bit. Even I have my own coach to do this stuff because I can't get into my own unconscious. I've tried listening to my own stuff and I'm like, oh, that's my voice. It sounds a bit weird. You know, it doesn't work, okay? You do need someone. My favourite phrase, I like wine, is you can't see your label from inside the bottle. It doesn't have to be wine, I suppose. It could be Ribena, couldn't it? But that's my brain. So you can't see your label from inside the bottle. So what do we do as mindset coaches? We see your label for you. We see your blind spots. We see what's going on. And then we're able to do this. But we don't do it through talk therapy, just so you know. That just re-traumatizes you. You relive it, you rewire it, you retell it, you relive it, okay? So we don't do that. We go in and we sort it out with you just having a nice time. So number 3 then, once you've done the root cause, then you can have the tools to do the symptom work. Because we're all human, we all have nerves sometimes, we all have anxiety, we all get worried, we all want to push ourselves, that's fine. But knowing what to do in that situation, then it works. You'll find you need a lot less rescue remedy. Your lucky pants will really do their thing. You don't need to rely on the gin, although to be fair, if you're going to go hunting, please do still have the gin before you go. Like, that's perfectly all right from my perspective. But what we do, and the stuff I was talking about earlier about toning your vagus nerve, that is all to do with this third element, which is do the stuff, get used to it. And then if you go, oh, hang on a minute, I can feel it going, what tool have I got in my toolkit to bring myself back down again? That's when it's useful. So unfortunately what's happening at the moment in the industry is a lot of people are working on 3. But that's like putting a saddle on the back of a horse whose back needs sorting out. It's the same thing. Need to get to the root cause. And that's it from me. There we go.
Well, thank you very much, Jenni. Now, because I absolutely did overrun the previous session, and because we definitely don't have another one starting very soon, would you be very offended if I pointed everybody in the direction of your mindset zone for questions?
I wouldn't be offended at all. Just broken my microphone. I just need to make sure my team are all going to be there as well.
Do we have the team around?
They will be, yeah, okay. They'll be over there.
So tell us exactly where we are heading. Are we going down this corridor?
Going down there, where you see the funky fit. You're headed towards the Botanica sign, but not that far. You'll see us on the left.
You're the Botanica sign, you went too far.
Yes.
Okay.
Turn around. Although do go to them, they're very good, but turn around to us first and then go.
So, is that okay, people? Because I'm almost on the verge of getting into a lot of trouble anyway. And I feel like it will definitely push me over the edge. Right, let's give Jenni a huge round of applause. Thank you so much. It's so interesting. And head over, ask her questions. The mini coaching sessions you can have.
Yep.
So go and enjoy that. Next up at